Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers, really building a special 2025 class, adding another commitment in tight end Hollis Davidson from the state of Georgia. And this is a guy that has all the traits to really be a matchup nightmare at the next level. 6'5", 240 pounds. And I think what sets Hollis Davidson apart from a lot of other tight ends in this 2025 class is you're seeing a tight end with the ideal frame at 6'5", with extremely long arms and incredible catch radius, but the movement skills for somebody that size, I think, is truly special. We're going to dive into the film, talk a little bit about how Hollis Davidson really, I think, has a very high upside at that tight end position, and talk about what he brings to the table for this Auburn Tigers offense. And we've said it, and I'll say it again. I think Hugh Freeze, with Kalen DeBoer taking over at Alabama, really sees an opportunity for this program really to get ahead and kind of the recruit trail over the next couple of years, obviously bringing together a 2024 class that was truly special. But you take a look at what they're doing in 2025, it looks like another strong class for Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys and a shout out, as always, to the Auburn Tiger fans. This is a program we've talked a ton about in terms of deep dives, transfer portal, high school recruiting trail, and the amount of support, all the War Eagles in the comment section. That stuff means the world. Cannot thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll be sure to keep you guys as updated as possible with the Auburn Tigers on the recruiting trail. Many of you guys know this is one of my favorite parts of college football, evaluating these guys out of high school, talking about what they bring to their future programs. Appreciate all the support. And without further ado, let's get into Hollis Davidson. Now, this is the second tight end that Auburn's taken in this 2025 class, with Ryan Gia already being committed. And you see, two tight ends that I really think could be difference makers for this Auburn offense in the future. And you take a look at Hollis Davidson in particular, and 6'5", 240 pounds, extremely good catch radius. But talking about some of the things that we're going to see on the film, the thing that stands out to me the most is his body control and his movement skills at that size. And that's often, I think, taken for granted for some of these tight ends who I think are oftentimes, you might be big, you might have a very big catch radius, but oftentimes really stiff, struggle to create separation, struggle to create after the catch. And what you see with Hollis Davidson is a massive frame, but a very fluid mover. This is a guy that has very good coordination, very good body mechanics. I think that's what excites me the most for Hollis Davidson. Had 30 catches for over 400 yards as a junior, and a guy that I think is trending in the right direction. And I think the future of Hollis Davidson, as he continues to fill out that frame, is probably more exciting than just talking about Hollis Davidson right now, because I think this is a guy that has a ton of upside coming out of high school. Want to get into the film a little bit, talk a little bit about what he brings to the table. And the first thing you're going to see, maybe a little bit of a slender frame right now. Keep in mind, just a junior in high school. This is a guy that's a willing blocker. And I think that's oftentimes the most important when you're talking about tight ends and what they can do downfield blocking. A lot of it has to do with just being willing, kind of being wired between the ears the right way. And Hollis Davidson, you go back downfield, like he wants to block. And I think this is special right here. You talk about the movement skills, getting in and out of your breaks, being able to create separation at this size. Very, very nice movement skills, create separation on the safety, uses that catch radius to adjust to the football, and then gets after it after the catch. And you see like how much of a load he is to bring down an open space. And I think that's something that it really excites you. You see him working vertically down the field here. This is another thing that I'm really excited for, right? Top of the screen here, working on the boundary. This is a guy that's probably going to excel in those jump ball situations, right? Working vertically down the field. You want to put a safety on him. It probably not big enough to deal with Hollis Davidson's frame. You want to put a linebacker on him, a little bit more of a bigger body. I think Hollis Davidson can use his athleticism to separate. And you talk about the true definition of what you want in a tight end, right? A matchup nightmare. You want a guy that, if you're a linebacker trying to run him up the seam, you can't keep up. And if you're a safety, you can't deal with the frame. And I think that's what Hollis Davidson brings to the table. You see him again, willing blocker, right? Picks up one guy, always looking for work. A guy that maybe needs to fill out the frame to be a great blocker at the college level. But when you're talking about tight ends in the blocking game and the run game, like at the end of the day, it matters if you want to block. How bad do you want to block? And a guy like Hollis Davidson on the film clearly showing that he wants to block at a high level. This is a guy that, in my mind, really exciting. This is probably one of the more impressive pieces of film that you see. Red zone target. And again, what is Hollis Davidson going to bring to this Auburn program? I think one of the things you're most excited about is what he can do as a red zone target, because you see the length, you see the 6'5" frame, and you see the body control that he has. A little like back shoulder, kind of fade. Just throw it up, let Hollis Davidson go be a kind of a playmaker here. Adjust to the football, really good coordination. And again, I think oftentimes we take that for granted with tight ends. How well can they adjust to the football? What's their body coordination look like? Hollis Davidson at 6'5", this is a guy that doesn't lack that coordination and that fluid movement skills that you're seeing on the film. Really, really exciting get. Again, you see him as a blocker. This dude wants to be active down the field as a blocker. You see what his ability in the route tree is, working that middle of the field, making those kind of combat catches. And then you see, again, just a load to bring down half the team trying to tackle him right there. And you take a look at this Auburn class in 2025, a couple things that are standing out. One, dominating the state of Alabama, right? Malik Autry, Antonio Coleman, Jacaleb Falk. You look at what they're doing in Alabama, I throw in Jordan Crawford too, doing a really nice job in the state of Alabama. And that is something that we've talked about. Can Kalen DeBoer keep up with Hugh Freeze and this staff on the recruiting trail? The early indications, not really. Secondly, and this is something that I think has flown under the radar for Auburn. Everyone wants to talk about Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons coming into that 2024 class, the elite playmakers at the wide receiver position. And I'll say this, you have a ton to be excited for. What they did on the defensive line, along the line of scrimmage on defense, that stood out to me as well, right? Jamonta Waller, Morris Williams, TJ Lindsey, they did a really nice job along the line of scrimmage. And you take a look at this 2025 class, they're loading up on that defensive line. And so, yes, is Hugh Freeze going to attract the offensive talent to this Auburn program? Absolutely. Hollis Davidson being one of those guys. But don't let it fly under the radar what Auburn and what this program is doing along the line of scrimmage as well. They had a massive junior day this weekend. We talked about it this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple more commitments during the month of February, obviously the dead period. But if you're telling me what team is really kind of picking up some traction on the recruiting trail, I mean, it's Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Really excited to continue to update you guys on what Auburn's doing on the trail. Hollis Davidson, a ton of upside at the tight end position. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.